drove the country, visited a number of colleges and met a lot of people. Of course, I think after that time, Dalton feels like he's ready to make a commitment to the school. He feels like he's going to play for it. Dalton?
Oh, I think from a personal stand of view, I think I'm going to go to University of Tennessee. I think it's best for me as an athlete and as a person. I think it's a good place for me to excel as a person and as a player. If y'all got any questions or anything y'all need to hear from me, go ahead and ask me. It's good.
Dalton, how tough was it the last week? You were getting, every day is probably switching in your mind.
Man, you don't even know, man. I'd lay in bed and toss and turn, just beating my head up against the wall, trying to say, what's good for me and what's best for me. It's been so hard for me. It's really been tough, trying to, because you wake up and you're like, man, this is the place, and then, 6 hours later you're like, oh man, But I think I've come down to it, and I think this is the best place for me, and I think Tennessee is where I'm going to be and where I'm going to be able to be successful at.
What was it about the University of Tennessee?
What was it? Tennessee, it's beautiful up there, beautiful side of the country. The coaching staff, I really enjoyed, young, energetic guys, just as, here at Van. I really enjoyed myself up there. A lot of good things going on there. SEC is a big thing for me, too. I think I can get up there and be, really excel at the SEC level, running and stuff like that. Now, and a lot of people say, they don't think I can play in the Big 12, just because I can't, cover or nothing like that. It's not that I don't want to cover. It's not that I can't play in the Big 12. It's just that I feel, I feel like I can excel more at the SEC level and do better things there, and I think that's what I'm going to do, for sure.
In the SEC in general, was it the type of football? Obviously they're known for pounding the rock, 20, 30 times a game.
Oh, absolutely. Smash mouth football. That's what I live for. Running downhill and hitting people in the mouth. For sure. Smash mouth. 30, 40 times a game is when you really, you're like, all right, yeah, this is what I live for. Hitting people in the mouth, not dropping back 60 times a game. Trying to cover somebody in the open space. That's not me. I could do it, but I rather hit people in the mouth.
Making the decision now. All the pressure's off you for the very last your senior season.
Oh yes, it's a stress reliever for sure. Now I can focus on this team, the Vandal football team, and go out there and be successful, and hopefully do great things with this team. It sure takes a lot off my shoulders, and then now I can turn around, focus all my attention on what I have to do here now, and knowing that what I have is secure there, and and everything is handled up there.
And with Texas A&M, I know that was a school that obviously rivaled Tennessee to the end. What was it compared to Tennessee that maybe had you go that way?
Oh man, Texas A&M, there's a lot of great things there. A lot of good people. A lot of my buddies are going there. A lot of guys I met through the days and work out with now. There's a lot of great things there. Coaching staffs, facilities. The tradition. A lot of great things were there. I just have to say, the biggest downfall for me there was, the Big 12. I didn't really feel like I didn't really like the vibe of the Big 12. And I'd rather play in, the big SEC. Where you play top 10 schools 6 times a year. You're going to play Floridas, you're going to play Alabamas, you're going to play them kind of cats. Guys that in and out, week in and out. You're going to play the top of the line. Every pro style every week. And that's what I was looking for. So.
When did you let the coaches know?
Actually, just several minutes before I got here. Several minutes, I called Coach Jordan from Texas A&M, and I called Coach Peter Sermon from Tennessee and let them know. Sir.
Obviously, the reaction from Coach Jordan wasn't good, but what was the reaction from Coach Sermon?
Oh, Coach Sermon was right in the middle of practice. Picked up my phone call. Gave me told me he was excited. Great to hear it. Told me they were going to give me a holler back as soon as I got out of practice. A bunch of, they were just really ecstatic and excited for, to hear that great news, good news.
When was it definite in your head? When you said you were going back and forth, but what day was it?
Actually, it was about, I'd have to say it was probably yesterday night. I just laid in bed and I was like, I've been praying about it. I talked to my family over here, and it was hard. It was so hard, to just figure out what I wanted to do as a person and as an athlete. And I just laid in bed last night and I just kept saying to myself, what is best for me, and what is going to, help me, be successful and do what I have to do, and I just, I went to sleep on it, and I finally just, said, it just came in my mind, this is the place where I need to be, and this is what I need to do to, to be successful and do what I have to do.
Tennessee program, obviously, a big SEC powerhouse on the way up. What do you kind of want to attain when you get there? What are some of your personal goals?
Oh, when I get there, I hope to do great things. Start do what Dalton Santos does out there on the field. At the college level, do great things. Come out there and hit people in the mouth, no matter what. No matter what the cost is. I want to go out there and be the best I can be. Hopefully help that team out as much as I can, and lead that defense the way I think it needs to be led, and the way the coaches think it needs to be led.
All right.